We need to have complete faith and certainty in the principle from Luke 1:37 that no word from God will ever fail. To the extent that no matter how desperate our circumstances appear, and no matter how much they suggest to the contrary, we have complete confidence that God's promises simply have to come to pass because He's the one making them. We can see examples of this in Genesis 22. So in verse 2, God told Abraham to offer Isaac to him as a sacrifice. But in verse 5, Abraham tells his servants at the bottom of Mount Moriah, which is where the sacrifice was supposed to happen, that him and Isaac will go and worship God on the mountain and then come back down from the mountain and then they'd all go home. So the question is this: if Abraham was intent on carrying out the sacrifice which would kill Isaac on Mount Moriah, how could he then have confidence that Isaac would be alive to be able to come back down the mountain with him? Well, the answer to this is found in Hebrews 11:17-19. First of all, Abraham was going to perform the sacrifice, as we see actually from Genesis 22 that he was willing to do it. But he had a certain assurance and confidence in God's promise to him about Isaac. And that was that through Isaac, Abraham would have loads of descendants, as numerous as the sand on the sea, stars in the sky, the rest. And so the point was that at that point in time, that promise hadn't come to pass. Isaac was still young and hadn't had any children and any descendants for, the rest of Abraham's offspring to come. And that's the point, right? Abraham had so much confidence in the promise that through Isaac he'd have loads of offspring, that he knew that Isaac couldn't die on that Mount Moriah, without that promise coming to pass. So if if Isaac died, he knew that, for example, God could resuscitate Isaac, because he just simply knew it wasn't possible for God to give a promise to him about the descendants that will come through Isaac, and then Isaac die without those promises coming to pass. And we need to have the same faith in God's promises to us, that no matter what the circumstances suggest, it's impossible for those things not to come to pass because God has promised them to us.